Self-sabotage is a funny thing. It really doesn't make a lot of sense because you kind of ask yourself, how can one sabotage themselves? How can I get in my own way? Why would I get in my own way? It doesn't really make a lot of sense. I want to go in a direction, right? Or I believe, right? I believe I want to go into a certain direction. Why would I inhibit myself from going in that direction? Especially since I am one individual. Wrong. See, self-sabotage, like self-love, we talked about in the last video, self-sabotage makes sense when you realize that you're not one individual being. You're actually a multitude of different subpersonalities or entities. This manifests in many different ways, but to simply exemplify it for you, thinking about how the version of yourself that is watching this video right now is very distinctly different than the version of yourself that would be involved in a car crash or experiencing a test or talking to their parents or at work, right? Some people in the Black community call this code switching, but code switching is not unique to ethnic minorities who need to fit in. We're always melding and morphing ourselves depending on the context, the situation, whether that be social or even just environmental, okay? Certain environments or events or stimulus can elicit or trigger different subpersonalities, different parts of ourselves to arise to the occasion or crumble to the occasion or just be neutral. Enlightened beings are consistent. They are always themselves not dependent on the external environment, on the external world for the most part. That is what an enlightened, aligned, coherent being is. For the rest of us, right, we have these different personalities that, unfortunately, because we're not conscious of a lot of them, most people, and they're relegated to the shadow and the subconscious mind, they come out without our consent, without our awareness. And so they run us, these subpersonalities. And so when you have self-sabotage, what happens there is that you, I don't want to say cerebrally, intellectually think that you want, let's say, love in your life. You want love, you want a relationship. But there's other parts of yourself that are more powerful, rooted deeper, that for whatever reason do not want love, do not want relationships. They might not think that you're attractive enough, or rich enough, or tall enough, or cool enough, popular enough, whatever it may be. But there is a protective mechanism that is rooted in something real, though. It does seem illogical to get in your own way because, of course, why would I not want a relationship? Why would I want not status or fame or money or whatever it may be, success in the things that I'm pursuing? But you realize that actually those things, the things that you think that you want, that you're running away from by running towards them in a way, or pushing them away as you move towards it, like a magnet, two positive poles repelling each other, that is rooted in some form of past trauma. And it is a defense mechanism. So, some people think that doesn't make any sense. Why would success in my career? Well, perhaps maybe you were shamed or attacked for being successful, or when you showed too much happiness or joy in your work, you got chastised for it because the adults in your life at that time were also chastised for expressing themselves or being successful or being happy with the things that they've created. You might be fearful of a relationship because you don't want your heart broken. You don't want to feel the pain of loss, or you just really don't think you're worthy enough because you were told that you're unlovable. You're not enough to be in a relationship, or you don't look a certain way. Okay? Or you want to stop overeating or using a certain substance, but you don't think that you can manage the overwhelming negative emotions that arise in your day-to-day life that only melt away when you do drugs or when you eat. And so that's where self-sabotage comes in. You have this conscious or more cerebral, intellectual, top-facing, front-facing version of yourself that wants the conventional things, right? Be healthy, be happy, be active and successful and proactive, right? Not procrastinating. But then you have that deeper part of yourself that is rebelling for whatever reason. And when you bring your awareness to that aspect of yourself, just like you would bring your awareness to an individual on a team that is sabotaging the team. You are a team of subpersonalities. You're not one individual, as I just elucidated earlier, just explained earlier. Once you can identify the rebellious, sabotaging teammate or aspect, or different teammates, could be multiple. Usually they're multiple. We call them the shadow or the inner demon. That's what the collective, the shadow team that's getting in the way of the main team, the cerebral team. Once you can identify it and realize where that energy is coming from, you can start to bring your awareness to it and dissolve the opposition, because you understand really, oh, why do I push away abundance? Why don't I feel good enough? And it can be simple as is generational trauma, or because you have an insecurity around a certain thing, or it could just be that you're not aligned with what you're supposed to be doing. And when you're aligned with what you're supposed to be doing, the abundance, the success, the relationships, the things will come because you are aligned with who you truly are meant to be. I mean, it's always kind of that case, but you have to kind of figure out what is out of alignment with who I'm supposed to be, you know? And that process can be difficult, right? Of looking inside of yourself to see the parts of yourself that are sabotaging you and holding you back from being the best version of yourself and being who you think you want to be. And maybe along the way, realizing that you actually don't want to be that. That's another thing too. You might be aiming for something that is actually social convention, that it's out of alignment with who you are. And the reason why you're not getting it is because it's not who you are. And the only reason why you think you want that thing is because everyone around you wants those things or tells you you're supposed to want those things. It's another form of self-sabotage. Could actually be the more genuine aspect of yourself, or your higher self, right? Saying, hey, buddy, you're not meant to, be famous. You're not meant to be an athlete or an investment banker, or to be overly scholastic, or to attract certain types of people in your life. They're not meant to be your friends. That's why you don't have them. The problem is that you're sabotaging yourself, but it's really not sabotaging yourself. So you can have that inverted form too. And so the only way you can really find out if it's a genuine self-sabotage or it's just you're chasing something that's out of alignment with who you're truly meant to be is through looking inside of yourself and doing the work, bringing your awareness internally, because we're so used to and trained to look externally for the things that are holding us back, thinking that there's external people or circumstances. And look, I'm not going to say that there aren't external circumstances that hold us back from the things that we want, right? If we had more money, more time, more energy, whatever, more supportive, social network, whatever it may be, connections, right? Generational wealth was usually a great start for most people. So obviously some people have it easier than others, but again, that is always going to be reflected internally as well. And so if you want help with that internal transformation, to alleviate self-sabotage, to become the best version of yourself, to cultivate self-mastery, I have a transformation guide you can get down below. Thank you for your time.